Thank you for your interest in the Building Energy Navigator. The Building Energy Navigator is a hosted, web-based software program that presents energy use and cost data in an easy-to-access and understandable format. The Building Energy Navigator was developed and is provided by CLEAR, Clean Energy Economy for the region. I'm going to walk through the different ways to view and share energy usage data that is collected. We have two sites that display data for our clients: Colorado Building Energy Navigator and Garfield Building Energy Navigator. You can find both of them by going to www.buildingenergynavigator.com. In front of you right now, we have the Colorado Building Energy Navigator, so that's what we're going to start with. This is what most of our new clients would be added to. However, we'll also use the Garfield Building Energy Navigator during this demonstration, as we have some of our best examples of the interesting features being used on that site. That's where a lot of our oldest clients are housed. Also, if a client would like their own version of the Garfield Building Energy Navigator, maybe for their region or their community, we can develop a new web skin specifically for that region. So let's get started. When you first land on the Navigator page, you'll see blue buttons along the bottom, and these all show the entities that are showing their facility data on the site. We're going to start with Colorado Mountain College, and you just click on that button and it goes to the site. When you click on an entity, you see all the buildings here in the middle of the screen, and you also see a description of the entity over here on the left side of your screen. This can be completely customized for the entity, any logos, even a photo, and language that you would like included here. All of the buildings can be organized by a couple different ways if that's appropriate for that client. Obviously for Colorado Mountain College, we wanted to see some of the buildings as they are by campus. We also want to see building type. Then we can find the student centers or the academic centers or the residence halls. You can also just look at all buildings for that entity all in one view. This is what we call our icon view, and as you can see, most of the buildings at CMC have live data, and we have a few with solar data, one there and one down here. The other view you can look at with all your buildings is this detail view. This shows a brief snapshot of the energy use for all of your buildings and allows you to do a few things like sort by a column. So I've just clicked on the energy intensity column, kBTU per square foot, and sorted all of the buildings by that energy intensity. You can also go back to just the annual energy cost per building. Now we're going to go to the Garfield Building Energy Navigator because we're going to go into a couple more details on some sites and especially look at how you can see how savings are captured when we look at the data. So I just clicked on Carbondale, and this is the town of Carbondale in Garfield County. We can see all the buildings popped up just like it did for our CMC building or our CMC client. Now, one feature we want to show is over here you have the annual totals for all sites. If you click on one of these buttons, this is going to be all of the energy use for all of the sites for the town of Carbondale that we are tracking in the Energy Navigator, all of them combined. As you can see, we have data going back till 2007. Looks like we got really good data by 2008. And this is, again, all the buildings we're just tracking on the Energy Navigator. The town of Carbondale probably has some other energy bills, but they're not big enough to add to the Energy Navigator. But what this shows, it's very useful for big picture sustainability planning and gives the elected officials and the staff a sense of how their building energy use is going over time. You can also see when they added solar and how that has grown over time with these little yellow offsets. In every view that we have with energy data, you can always look at it in dollars, which is usually the default. You can also look at it in CO2, and these are the carbon emissions of those buildings. As you can see, solar rises above the line in this case. And you can also look at it as far as kBTU, the energy costs, or the energy used, as opposed to the costs. Sometimes you may see energy use go down, but in the cost view, it might stay the same or even go up. So it's important to look at all those options. And as I flipped through these different summaries, you've probably seen the chart summary change over here. And this just gives the big picture, summary picture. This is good for the general public, especially if they're interested in how much energy use that building is using and trying to get a grasp of what that means in terms of number of houses, what percent of the energy is provided by solar. You can also do a multi-year view here, and this shows the month-by-month energy use of every month over a series of years. If we click this prior button, we can go back all the way to that 2007 data, if that's how far we wanted to go back. Again, these are all the buildings added up together. And then one final view is just the latest year view of all the buildings. So here we have 2014. How did all the buildings in the town of Carbondale do? Now let's get in and look at a specific building. We're going to go to the Carbondale Rec Center. And here, because the Rec Center has live data and monthly bill data, all of these fields over here are green and we can push on them. When we click on a specific building, you get a summary of that building. Again, this is populated with information we get from the client, so this can have maybe a lead designation showing up or just the logo or a photo of the building. And then here again is another summary based strictly on just that building alone, and provides a general amount in cost and these equivalencies, which are useful for people to get a grasp of how much energy that building is using. So again, we'll start with the big picture. We'll look at this multi-year view. This is helpful for determining any trends that are happening over time. We have a line up here that is that annual cost per square foot over time. We're going to go back in time a little bit to where we know they made some changes in their building to achieve savings. So here's where you can start to see that line really dramatically drops over this year of 2011. The dates run along here. So this is a good snapshot picture to see what they did. Doesn't give you exact how much they saved in energy bills, but it shows you that that cost per square foot has come down. Just like in those annual total views, you can look at the cost, you can look at carbon emissions, and you can see how dramatically those came down over that same time period, and you can look at energy and see how that compares. We also have an estimated savings feature. We have this purple button down here we can show you. And we're going to do a couple things in this year view. We'll use the estimated savings feature, and we'll also just compare 2 years. So first, we're going to look at the energy use. We're going to go to BTU, and we're going to go find a date. We know they did a bunch of work in 2010, so we're going to go find that date. So this just shows you how you can navigate through this to find specific project dates or a year when you know the building occupants were really engaged in saving energy. And then you click this Compare Prior Year. We're going to compare the prior year. You can notice that the dotted line is the prior year, and it's about the same as this current year. And then it starts really shifting. That prior year was a lot higher, and here's that current year, which would be 2010 compared to 2009. Over here, our summary changes a bit, and they get a thumbs up because they reduced energy use at this building by 22% in that time. We'll keep the prior year function on, and we'll also just look at the following next year and see how those savings continued at 30%. They continue to get a thumbs up. Now we're going to take the prior year off, and then we're going to click this Estimated Savings button. And this is set in place. You pick a base year, for energy use. Oops. And once that base year is selected, these green bars, I did not just select it, we have it pre-selected in our programming, but we work with the facility managers to set that. These green bars show that if weather and energy costs had been the same, that is what the energy use at this building would have been over all this time. Some people call that showing your avoided costs. It's your estimated savings normalized for weather. But it's a really powerful feature, particularly for facility managers or financial department staff who want to evaluate projects that have been going on at a particular building. We can also go into the month view, and this just gives a day-by-day view. This we get from our live data that gets pushed into the system in the middle of the night and shows you the data from yesterday. The yellow shows the solar offset, and the blue is the electricity. On this building, we also have some temperature sensors set up, so we can also get readings for temperatures. This really gets into usefulness for the facility management team and our team for helping those facility managers. It's rare that the public wants to see what the temperatures were like in that building. We also have the week view. This gives a day-by-day snapshot of how that building was working. Did it shut off at night? You can see when the solar came on and the solar exceeded what was being used in the building. This is really powerful for showing savings right away, especially if you're making little tweaks or adjustments to the building. We're going to go look at a specific week when we know a project was completed. I'm going to look for August 11th, 2012. Let's see. I'm going to go back one more. Oh, and we'll just hit the prior button for that. And then we're going to compare to prior year. Let's see. And here we're seeing a few unusual spikes at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, that were not happening last year. That can be a tool to help facility managers really see, wait, this building is something different is going on. What do I need to go check out? And it can be addressed quicker than it would be on just by seeing your utility bills going up and not knowing what's happening. We can also go to a day view. I still have the compare feature on, so we're looking at this day compared to that same day a year ago. You can see when the solar comes on. This really gets into the granularity of the 15-minute data and lets somebody see really when their building is turning on, when it's turning off, why it's turning back on at 10 o'clock at night. Maybe they had an event that night. But it gives the facility team more information about their building than they would normally get in a really easy-to-read format. We have some facility managers who work for our clients who get on every morning, check yesterday's data, and just make sure that things are still going as they would expect. I'm going to show a couple other examples of how we've seen savings data show up. We're going to go look at Garfield County. As you can see, we've got lots of buildings that we don't have live data on, and 5 that we do have live data on. The live data features aren't always justifiable for every building. Of course, if a client would want that for every building, we can do that. But we generally go for the larger buildings for our clients. We're going to go to the admin building. Again, we got a summary use. As you can see here, we've got a photo. We don't have any text, but that could be added. We have all the same buttons available over here. And we're going to go to the month view on this one. The month view is good for seeing if a building is shutting down over the weekends, getting that detail that you don't get on your utility bill. We are going to go back to May 2011 because we know this is when we were working with them on a project. As you can see, it runs not flatline, but their weekends are not shutting down very much until this first weekend here. So we would circle that for them and give them a big thumbs up for changing the course of their action. And as you can see, that continued. They really did a good job of getting their controls dialed in and shutting down that building over the weekends. If we compare that to the prior month, you can see that they had not shut down the building as much as they thought they were in those weekends. Great example of immediate feedback for facility managers making the tweaks they needed to in their control system. And there's our final example as a way to use the tool to catch things that might be happening in your system that you're not sure what, but you might not catch otherwise. What a mouthful that is. We're going to go to Carbondale Town Hall. And this time we're going to look at the week view. And we're going to go find a week in December 2010. And when we saw this happening on the Navigator, we quickly called their facilities department to see what was going on. As you can see, relatively normal operation here, and then all of a sudden their electricity use is just skyrocketing at all times of the day. So we were able to catch that within 48 hours of it happening. It took a little bit longer to get it figured out, but at least it happened for the small community. It happened before they got their utility bill, and they were able to fix that problem. The Building Energy Navigator can also track gas usage on a live data basis, so I want to share that really quickly. Here we're going to go to the 3rd Street Center in Carbondale. Again, we'll go to one of our live views. We'll pick a week view. And here, instead of it just being electricity and temperature, we also have heat available. And you can see the gas usage every day. We do have a solar hot water system at the 3rd Street Center, so you can see that solar offset with these little yellow blips here. But this is really good for the facility manager to see how his boiler is operating. Is it shutting off at night? Are people turning off the thermostats? Or do they have their thermostats programmed? Again, very powerful tool for facility staff or building operators to make sure the building's running as they think they have it programmed or want to make sure they have it programmed. Well, thank you for your time. In order to access these two sites, you can go to www.buildingenergynavigator.com. And from this site, you can get to the Garfield Clean Energy Navigator or the Colorado Building Energy Navigator. Call us if you have any questions. Contact information is right here, 970-704-9200. Thank you.